Hi folks, Ryan here. Today we're going to brew a 1 gallon extract kit from Northern Brewer. This would be their Black IPA kit. Alright, let's open up our kit here and see what it comes with. You get some handy instructions, some fizz drops to put in your bottle to help carbonate, 5 ounces of corn sugar, which this is normally what you might get in some recipe kits to bottle with, but we're actually going to throw this in the brew, and this recipe calls for it. I've actually done the Black IPA before, but in the 5 gallon kit, and it also comes with, I think, a pound of sugar to throw in. Some grains, specialty grains. I don't believe they are listed on here, but I think if you look at a previous video of mine, we took some guesses on what it was based on their 5 gallon kit, because they do tell you in the 5 gallon kit what they are. And some gold malt extract syrup. And a little grain bag to put your steeping grains in. Some other ingredients we have are some Chinook hops, Cascade hops, Centennial hops, more Cascade, more Centennial, and another Centennial. 7 gram packets and 3.5 gram packets. And some active brewing yeast. It says American Ale. I'm guessing it's just another strain of like US05. It says Y444 on it. I'm not sure. I haven't looked that up. Maybe I can find a identifier of who actually made this. So, okay. We're pretty much going to follow their instructions exactly. I'm going to use my Mr. Beer fermenter for this, my 1 gallon fermenter. And I have my 2 gallon pot, and I'm going to use the induction cooktop just because, I don't know, it's probably a lot easier for me to put the camera on this from on the counter than it is to try to get you aimed at the stove. So we'll use this. One thing that I like to do is put my liquid extract in hot water. This isn't water that was heated up on the stove. You might be able to do that, but I would just suggest using hot tap water. This helps get the extract to be a little runnier and not as viscous. So there's a little pro tip for you. We're going to start following our instructions here. I've never actually done a Northern Brewer 1 gallon kit. If it was a 5 gallon kit, I would for the most part know exactly what to do, but I don't in this case. So we're going to collect and heat 1.25 gallons of water in our kettle. The kettle that you saw the extract in is a different pot than this one. So we're just gonna, so just FYI, I'm not reusing it. It's still sitting in the other one in the hot water. I just use cool tap water when I start brewing, because you don't really want a lot of those minerals from your hot water heater in there if you have that sort of problem. Also, it may even be better if you have distilled water to use it, because all the minerals you need to brew with are actually in your extract. So distilled water would work great. I've never actually done that, but I know others that have. Here's our first gallon. This, maybe a 3 gallon pot would have worked better for this one, since it is over a gallon of water. The last brew I did was the actual Mr. Beer kit that came with the fermenter. It didn't really have enough water to get deep enough on the 3 gallon kettle. But that 3 gallon kettle turned out great to cook in, so we kept it. Also, I'm going to get this fired up here. Get close enough. It's going to be very important that you keep an eye on this, because, especially look at me with only about that much headspace, when you start putting extract in here, it could definitely boil over. Also, make sure you have a decent thermometer. I usually have one that I use, but I kind of forgot to bring it down, so I'm going to just use the same one I use for barbecuing. This is a great thermometer. Already we're at 105 degrees. All right, we're going to put our steeping grains in the mesh bag. And we want going to get on this a little quickly because the water is heating up fast. So we're going to steep it for 10 minutes once I get it in the bag. And these 1 gallon kits are kind of nice. The grains come in the Ziploc sort of thing. I like to just wrap this around the top. I know you can't see this, but do it over your sink too. Fill your grain stock over the sink. It'll save you on a mess later. Normally I would tie this bag up, seal it, but this is kind of a smaller bag, so we're just gonna try to get it on the handle here. Just keep it closed, but also keep it in place. Some people like to just put their whole bag in there and just let it kind of float around or whatever. I'm not a huge fan. Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes. There we go. I'm not a huge fan of doing that just because I don't want the bag on the burner. This will work perfectly fine. I've done it this way for years. At least my 5 gallon kits, it work great. I don't see this will be any different. You can already see color starting to come through here out of those grains. Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes. Oh, Alexa's unplugged. I forgot. Let me just put on the timer up here on the microwave. There we go. So this said do to 10 minutes. My suggestion is if you get to 170, go ahead and pull it, because you really don't want to start pulling tannins out of these grains. And not that you'd get a lot out of them, but I'd say be on the safe side. We're at 113 right now. We may be all right. All right. All right, so we've done it a little over 10 minutes, probably at 11 minutes now. A little longer than it should be, but it's okay. We're not going to have any problems. The water is at 166, so the timing's about perfect anyway. So if you go a little too long, that's fine. Just watch your temperatures. The bigger kits, they say they give you 20 minutes or until you hit 170. This one says just do 10 minutes. I'm not worried about it. You don't need to sparge or rinse the grains. Just let them drain out. Don't squeeze the bag. Let your water keep heating up until you can get to a boil. The purpose of these grains are to add color, flavor, aroma, and body. Also, you're going to make sure you have a timer, and I have just realized that I don't have a timer of any sort to do the rest of this, so we're going to keep doing it, of course. With the different hop additions you do, you need to put them in at specific times. I don't have anything to do that with. So I'm going to have to just do a 60-minute timer and just keep glancing up at it. Normally I have an app or something that'll go off with every time I need to make an addition, but I can't do that this time. But we'll be all right. We'll get through it. As you see, we are at a boil. So first thing we're going to do now that we're at a boil, oops, sorry. We are going to add our malt extract. Although I find this odd that it's kind of showing us to keep it boiling, I'm going to stop it because I don't want the malt extract to hit the bottom and start burning. Because I'm using an induction cooktop, I don't really need to take it off the burner because there's no more heat coming out of that burner short of what's the fact that it's just warm right now because it had been running. Because you can see that boil stopped immediately. So we're going to shut it off to be safe. One thing some people like to do is rinse out their container of malt extract. I usually do like to do that when I've done extract brews like this. It doesn't hurt, but this time I may not. I don't think I'm going to. If you have a ladle, this works a lot better. Actually, part of the reason I'm not going to do that is because I don't want to add more water to this because we need to be down to 1 gallon. So we're going to just try to get it all out that we can. When you did 5-gallon batches, since you'd only add about 2.5 in there, I believe, if I remember right, adding a jar full of water to that isn't going to be an awful thing because you'll just have less water you add at the end. We got to boil off this water. At least hope we can pull off boiling it off. Otherwise, we're going to end up with more than a gallon. So, and that may be part of the reason why they don't want you to shut it off at this point. So I'm going to set this to 5. We'll turn it back on. Just kind of keep stirring it. Make sure that extract is not on the bottom. Just get a little plate here to set this on. Normally in my 5-gallon pots, I'd use the handles, but this spoon is too long. Spoon's intended for full-time or full-size brews. Let's see what we got here. So our temperature went down to 195 when we did that, 196. That's all right. We'll get back up to a boil. It will not be a big deal. Our first addition will be 7 grams of Centennial hops. So we got 7 grams of Centennial. And that's it for the first addition. Normally when you do a 5-gallon batch, these boils are an hour long, so it's kind of interesting that this one's only 45 minutes. Also, don't ever leave your pot unattended until you get past the hot break. And the hot break is that part when you're boiling, initial boil, you first get up to a boil. Once you have extract in there, it'll start to foam up and try to boil over. You don't want to deal with that. It'll make a huge mess, so just keep an eye on it. If you're using a nice induction cooktop like I am, you can turn the power setting down a notch, and usually that'll keep the foam because it'll cut heat to it. That'll bring the foam down until eventually it'll just kind of go away. It's a little trick I learned probably a year or two after I started brewing. I got this cooktop to figure out how to do all grain in my kitchen in my apartment. I don't live in an apartment anymore, but I actually love just doing extracts on this thing. So like, look at that. Now you're starting to see this foam build up on the edges. This is going to close in, and then you'll start noticing the level's going to rise because that foam is trapping that heat down in the wort. And this is wort at this point. Technically, when you put the steeping grains in, it becomes wort, but you're not going to make good beer on just steeping grains. We got our fermentables in there. We could take this off, cool it down now, and have beer. It wouldn't be very good beer because we don't have any hops in it. But you could put yeast in it, wait, let it ferment. It would make beer. Now watch. Our area where you can see the wort is starting to shrink. We are technically at a boil right now. I want to see, maybe you can. I like how smart this thermometer is to know that I just put it in heat to see. We are at a boil. We're at 212. I am going to start my timers. Try to keep an eye on that. There we go. I'm actually surprised it's not trying to boil over right now. I'm a little freaked out, to be honest with you. Let's see what happens when we get our 7 grams of Centennial in. Sometimes this has triggered it for people. And there it goes. Everything just caved in. Foam's going to go up. Best way to deal with this, if you're on a normal stove, start stirring like crazy. That'll help a lot. And I'm going to just give it a good stir anyway. The induction cooktop, turn the temperature down a notch, see if it goes down. We've gotten through the hot break. We mixed up that foam pretty quick, so I don't need to turn the temperature down. I'm just going to keep it up to hopefully boil off some more of that liquid. We've got about a quarter of a gallon of liquid to get through. 45 minutes. I think we can do it. It looks like we had a nice little boil here. Now it looks like our next edition will be in 23.5-ish minutes. So we're going to just hold off on that. I'm going to shut the camera off, and then I'm going to go get my fermenter ready. Alright, we're at our 15 minutes left in the boil. We're going to add 3.5 grams of Chinook. Alright, we're at our 10 minutes left in the boil. We're going to add 3.5 grams of Centennial hops. Alright, we're down to 5 minutes left, and we're going to add 7 grams. Oh, I'm sorry. 3.5 grams of Cascade. Alright. At the end of our boil, we're going to add this stuff quick before we shut off the burner. 7 grams of Centennial. Seven grams of Cascade. And 5 ounces of dextrose / corn sugar. And we're going to shut the burner off right now before we're putting this in there. And that should all dissolve with how hot this is. And we can give it a quick stir. But you probably don't have to. But I'm choosing to. Next, we'll get this into an ice water bath in the sink. So give me a minute, we'll get over there. Alright, got our wort down to 65 degrees in our ice bath. I used most of a 20-pound bag of ice. Probably don't need this, but I'm going to play it safe. I got a funnel and a strainer so we don't get all the hot material in there. Oops. Okay, and we're going to do our best to pour this in here without making a huge mess. Chances are I'm going to make a huge mess. All right, that didn't go too bad. Most of the hops stayed in the pot, so that's good. Try to shake some of this out. All right. Last but not least, we need our yeast. We're gonna just sanitize this for about 30 seconds and then we'll cut open and put it in, or as they call it, pitch the yeast. Now they use kind of a papery package on this, and it seemed like getting it wet was a bad idea, but I think it's okay. We'll sprinkle it around. Yeah, I don't think any of the moisture got inside. There's a little bit sticking inside, but I think we're all right. We got plenty in there. Okay. And next, normally you'd want to aerate this some way to get some more oxygen in there, but since we poured it through that strainer and it splashed around a bit, I'm going to say it's good enough. And then we'll put our lid on. And this fermenter comes with a kind of a no liquid airlock. It's not 100% safe, but it'll probably be good enough. I think it's mostly just keep dirt and bugs and dust from going inside. And as long as it's fermenting, it'll be all right. Yeah. You can see these little divots on the side where the air can go up into, and then there's a hole towards the top. So it's not perfect. I didn't have a bung that would fit in that hole, so use an actual airlock. I'll probably have to go see if I can find one sometime, but we'll just use what came with it. I think it'll be all right. And there you go. It's the Northern Brewer Black IPA. We'll check it out about 2 weeks and get it bottled, and then we'll do a taste video. Catch you next time.